Good morning, everyone. My name is Deandra Coleman. I'm with the Virginia SBDC Network. For those of you that are not familiar with our organization, the Virginia SBDC is a partnership program between the U.S. Small Business Administration, George Mason University, and local host institutions throughout Virginia. With 27 locations across the Commonwealth, we provide training and technical assistance to small businesses in their local communities. Our one-on-one consulting services are available at no charge. Today's webinar, U.S. Patent and Trademark Office Resources for Inventors, Innovators, and Entrepreneurs, is presented by the Virginia SBDC in collaboration with the United States Patent and Trademark Office. And this is the first in a series of 4 webinars with the USPTO. Before we get started, I just want to mention a couple of housekeeping items. We are recording today's presentation and it will be posted on our website, virginiasbdc.org. Due to the large number of participants in today's webinar, everyone's microphone is muted. If you have questions during the presentation, you can type those into the Q&A box, and time allowing, our presenter will answer them at the end of the presentation. Today's presentation will be given by Tomika Obishan. Ms. Obishan is the Eastern Regional Outreach Officer for the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office in Alexandria, Virginia. She supports the strategic plans and goals of the agency with a focus on outreach and stakeholder engagement. She's worked for the USPTO for over 12 years, serving in various roles from patent searcher to training specialist. She has a Bachelor of Science degree in biology and a master's degree in library and information science. And now I'll go ahead and turn it over to Tomika.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you, Deandra, for such a warm welcome and introduction. We're going to go ahead and get started. So So today, again, we're going to cover resources for you all, inventors and entrepreneurs. And next slide, please. And we have to do this. This is standard. So this content that we're giving today is for informational purposes only. It's not any legal advice at all, right? So please consult with appropriate sources for legal authority and guidance on these matters. Next slide, please. So here we are, the USPTO, also known as the America's Innovation Agency. We're committed to fostering innovation and economic growth, also creating a reliable, predictable, and high-quality intellectual property system. Next slide, please. Just a little information and background about the history of the Patent Office and intellectual property. It's deeply rooted in our nation's history. And you can find out more information about this by just taking a look at the U.S. Constitution, specifically Article 1, Section 8, Clause 8. The Congress shall have power to promote the progress of science and useful acts by securing for limited times to authors and inventors the exclusive rights to their respective writings and discoveries. Next slide, please. So, what exactly is a patent? It's the right to exclude others from what? Making, using, selling, or importing the claimed invention, and also offering for sale. There's a limited term to the patent, and also it's territorial. A U.S. patent provides protection only within the United States. It does not grant any worldwide patents. Next slide, please. What is a trademark? I'm sure many of you are familiar with trademarks. We see them everywhere, right? So, but remember, there are key purposes for having a trademark. It allows you as consumers to identify the source or producer of different products and services. And it also helps with buying decisions, right? It also encourages trademark owners to provide goods and services of great quality that's consistent with their brand. Next slide, please. Now, what is a copyright? Many of you may have copyrights already, and you've probably seen the symbol for copyright with the C with a circle within it. So a little more information about them. They protect the original works of authorship, which includes literary dramatic, musical, artistic, and other works fixed in a tangible medium. The Library of Congress holds the Copyright Office, and they administer the registration for copyrights. The USPTO advises the executive branch on IP issues, including copyright. As I mentioned before, the C with a circle, that symbol can be used without registration. Next slide, please. Now, what is a trade secret? Now, trade secrets, we are probably familiar with them, such as the secret sauce that's in maybe a specific burger, not to mention any brand, no specific chains or franchises, or maybe like some herbs and spices for a specific chicken recipe. But it's basically any information that derives economic value from not being generally known or ascertainable. It can be formulas, patterns, compilations, programs, devices, methods, techniques, or processes. This protection of a trade secret, it stems from common law dating back to the 1800s. Now, all states have some sort of trade secret protection, and most of the laws are based on the Uniform Trade Secrets Act. Next slide, please. Now we're going to transition to some USPTO resources. Next slide, please. First off, we have our home site, www.uspto.gov. We have a wealth of information there. As you can see from some of the items outlined on the page, we have learning resources for educating you on various events, programs, services for all of you entrepreneurs and inventors, startups, and kids. We also have inspiring stories of innovation and invention, and as well as easy access to COVID-19 relief and support information. Next slide, please. Now, a little more about our innovation resources. We have what is known as the Expanding Innovation Hub site. And here you can find information on demystifying the patent system. You may have questions about just how to go about filing for a patent application and so forth. You can find that information here. We also have some mentoring programs so that you can make some critical connections. And also we have community groups. And you can learn more about all of these resources and information through this Expanding Innovation Hub page. The URL for this site is also located at the bottom of the screen. So if you can make note of that. Next slide, please. Now, you can also find help in your respective area. Here we are in Virginia, right? Well, actually, I'm in Maryland right now, but our headquarters is out of Alexandria, Virginia. And you can see from here, we have a map of the entire United States here. And here at headquarters, we're here as a resource, but also we have additional resources such as the Inventors Assistance Center, the Patent Pro Bono Program, law school clinics, the Patent and Trademark Resource Centers. Next slide, please. Now, finding help in your specific area or our area, that information is also available through our USPTO.gov site, and it's under the Learning and Resources tab. And thank you for the link in the chat. So also under the Learning and Resources tab, you can find more information by going to Patents Info, Inventors Assistance by State, and selecting the state or District of Columbia, which falls within the Eastern region. Next slide, please. Now, here we are at our page for inventor and entrepreneur resources. We have a dedicated site for all of you out there. And here you can see we have information outlined according to patents, trademarks, assess your intellectual property, and protecting yourself, right? So please, when you have a moment of time, please take the opportunity to investigate each one of these links embedded in the page here. Next slide, please. Now, we also have a page directed or dedicated, excuse me, to our startup resources. And again, you can assess and protect your intellectual property from here, and you can see some respective links to that embedded in this page. You also have additional resources to help you develop your business plan, find funding, and engage with the experts. As I mentioned, we have a patent pro bono program, and you can get some additional information or access it from this page as well. And again, check out the link at uspto.gov/startups. Next slide, please. And here we are. We have, through and on YouTube, a wonderful video library of trainings and events and information resources that you can access right at your fingertips. So please, when you have a moment of time, check out the USPTO video library within YouTube and subscribe. Next slide, please. We also have a subscription center, and there are 12 available subscriptions through USPTO available to you. We have the patent alerts, as well as trademark and copyright alerts. And we have our Directors Forum blog, a monthly review, Inventors Eye, and also information about the Patent Trial and Appeal Board, also known as PTAB. Next slide, please. Now, with our USPTO events page, of course, that's where you can find events such as the one today mentioned or featured. We also have some additional events. We have wonderful programs, and I'll tell you a little bit more about those towards the end. But you can find a wealth of information on our webinars and other trainings through our USPTO events page, including learning how to draft patent claims. Next slide, please. We also have the Inventors Assistance Center, or IAC, and of course, we're here to help and provide any patent information to you all as a service of the office. And it's staffed by a former supervisory patent examiner, or SPE, and also experienced former primary examiners. And there you'll find information for general questions concerning the patent examination policy and procedure. And here it's staffed Monday through Friday, 8:30 a.m. to 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, except for federal holidays. Next slide, please. Now, the Trademark Assistance Center, or TACT, it also is a resource for providing general information about the trademark registration process. You can have any responses to your queries and the status of your trademark answered here. Again, hours of operation are the same, from 8:30 a.m. to 8 p.m. And please, can you put the link in the chat? Thank you very much. Next slide, please. We also have the Pro Se Assistant Program. You know, we have a beautiful cadre of wonderful assistance programs, and this is, again, one of them. And it's staffed 8:30 a.m. to 5 p.m. instead of 8 p.m. And you can find more information about the Pro Se program located on our USPTO.gov page, and just enter in the search box in the upper right, Pro Se Assistance, and you'll be taken to that page. Next slide, please. As mentioned, we have the USPTO Patent Pro Bono Program. And so this is a nationwide network, and we have the honor to be able to assist with financially under-resourced independent inventors and small businesses. And as of now, program participants must have income 300% below federal poverty guidelines. And we have information on this specific program as well through uspto.gov pro bono patents /pro bono patents. and through the Pro Bono program. As you can see, we have patent pro bono attorneys, agents, and specific law firms. Next slide, please. And here's a map of where all of our pro bono program organizations are found, and you can see from the West Coast to here on the East Coast, we have a lot of coverage, and below, and I'm not sure if you can very clearly see it, we have a number of organizations featured. You can also find this information at uspto.gov/patent pro bono program. Next slide, please. The USPTO also has a law school clinic certification program and allows law school students enrolled in a participating law school's clinic program to practice before the USPTO under the guidance of a law school faculty clinic supervisor. And if you wouldn't mind, Deandra, please put the link to this program into the chat. So again, at uspto.gov/law school clinic for more information. Next slide, please. We also have our wonderful patent and trademark resource centers. So it's a nationwide network of public, state, and academic libraries. As a librarian, also I'm excited to mention this. It's a wonderful opportunity, a wonderful resource, for you to connect and find out more information about patent and trademark information, and they support intellectual property needs of the public. And for more information, check out the link in the chat, and it's at our website on our page and /PTRC. Next slide, please. Now, we do have some reduced patent fees that I'd like to cover. For small entities, there's a 50% reduction in most patent fees. Also, you must be an individual or a small business with less than 500 employees or a nonprofit organization. Now, for micro entities, there is a 75% reduction in most patent fees. Also, a small entity requirement must be met. Filed no more than 4 previous applications, and your income cannot be greater than 3 times the median income. And of course, inventions assigned to your employer don't count against you. And for more information on the micro entity requirements, please go to uspto.gov/micro entity. Thank you. Next slide, please. Now, if you need patent protection fast, why not try Track One? So if you just check out the link and go into our patent initiatives, this is a prioritized patent examination program. And please check it out, and you can move your ideas quickly through and with the USPTO through Track One. Next slide, please. We also have some other resources that are available to you. Of course, we have our helpline at 1-800-PTO-9199, and some additional resources on the patent application guide, the process, search guide, inventor and entrepreneur resources. We've covered some of those now. The pro se assistance, and again, the micro entity information. Next slide, please. Now, we'll cover some COVID-19 response resource information. Okay, next slide, please. We have a COVID response resource center available to you, and I pointed that out earlier when we had a snapshot, looked at a snapshot of the USPTO.gov website. And in the lower corner, as you navigate there, there's a dedicated link to our COVID response resource center. We update that page regularly, and it's accessible again through our homepage. Next slide, please. So our resource center dedicated to COVID-19 Resources is a central hub of information about our efforts to accelerate innovation and keep our stakeholders informed of recent developments and promote new technologies. And as you can see from a snapshot of the website, we have sections outlining the patent and information licensing resources, innovation incentives, trademarks, counterfeiting and fraud, and our international updates. Next slide, please. We also have additional resources under patents and licensing. Again, I mentioned our Patents Pro Bono program. We also have our Patents for Partnerships platform, as well as other special resources for you all inventors and entrepreneurs. Next slide, please. Now for our innovation incentives. We have a COVID-19 prioritized examination pilot program. Also, a voluntary early publication of patent applications is available as well, and a deferred fee provisional patent application pilot program. Next slide, please. Now for trademarks, counterfeiting, and fraud, also under our COVID-19 Response Resource Center, we have a prioritized trademark examination program. We have additional federal government resources, as well as how to report fraud and counterfeiting. Next slide, please. Now for our international updates, we have information from WIPO, or the World Intellectual Property Organization's policy tracker, as well as patent cooperation treaty updates, the Madrid Protocol updates, Hague Agreement, and links to other patent offices. There's a wealth of resources here, so please be sure to take a look at. Next slide, please. Now, we encourage all of you, our stakeholders, to send any recommendations or suggestions for us to consider as we assess you all, our intellectual property community, to covidcomments@uspto.gov. Thank you. Next slide, please. Now, for more information, we're going to cover our Patents for Partnership program. And again, from our COVID-19 Response Resource Center, under Patent and Licensing Resources, we have our Patents for Partnership program link. And here it's a searchable repository for published patents and published patent applications specifically related to COVID-19 pandemic. And they're indicated as available for licensing here. Next slide, please. So currently, we have listings limited to those technologies that the owner believes are reasonably related to the prevention, treatment, diagnosis, protection from, or alleviation of the symptoms of coronaviruses in general and COVID-19 in particular. And again, you can search the website by keyword or name or assignee. And we've drawn all of this information from a variety of resources, including our agency, NASA, various universities, the CDC, and NIH, or the National Institutes of Health. Next slide, please. For any additional technologies on the platform, you can email the completed form to ipmarketplace@uspto.gov, and that form is available directly from the Patents for Partnership page over in the left navigational pane as highlighted in this slide. Next slide, please. Now, for our COVID-19 prioritized examination pilot programs, we have some more information. The USPTO will grant requests for prioritized examination to patent applicants that qualify for small or micro entity status. And I mentioned information earlier about the small and micro entity sites. And please be sure to go to uspto.gov/micro entity for more information. Now, for those who qualify without payment of the typical fees associated with other prioritized examinations, we have information available. And Our specific aim is to provide final disposition of applications for this program within 6 months if applicants respond promptly to communications from the USPTO. Next slide, please. Now, again, we've launched a web page that provides additional information and resources, and you can find that under the Innovation Incentives section on the website, and it has more detailed information about the criteria, the request for participation, announcements and public comments, as well as a Q&A section. Next slide, please. The criteria of the program are as follows. There are no fees required. Applications must contain one or more claims related to COVID-19, and they must be subject to an applicable Food and Drug Administration approval. Applicants must certify that they qualify for either a small or micro entity status, and applicants should file the pilot program form featured and mentioned here using the USPTO's patent electronic filing system, also known as EFS Web. And again, if that information can be put in the chat, and also you can go to the website specifically and do a search for COVID-19 prioritized examination, and this information should pop up as well. Next slide, please. How to request participation in this program. Here's an example here. We have the pilot program information, the form. You should see that on the website. Click, download, and fill this out. Save the form, upload it into EFS Web. And remember, when uploading your form, select the document description COVID-19 prioritized examination request. Attach the document screen to ensure processing. Next slide, please. Now, the website that we've been talking about for the past few minutes, or have been discussing, also features detailed announcements and public comments, as well as the questions and answers, or Q&A. It links out to the Federal Register notice, also USPTO's announcements regarding the pilot program, includes up-to-date information on how many applications have been granted prioritized examination under this program, and includes public comments in response to the Federal Register notice. Next slide, please. Now for the Trademark Prioritized Examination Program, all applications related to COVID-19 will follow the following. Excuse me. The USPTO will accept petitions to advance the initial examination of applications for marks used to identify qualifying COVID-19 medical-related products and services and waive the petition fee. Now, the goal is to expedite the initial examination process by approximately 2 months if the petition is granted and applicants promptly respond to the examining attorney. And again, you can find more information about the program on our website. Next slide, please. Thank you. Now, the USPTO launched a web page. Again, we've seen it at the beginning of this set. And under the section for trademarks, counterfeiting, and fraud, you'll find additional information about the products and services to fight COVID-19 here, including the criteria for the program, how to request participation, and frequently asked questions. Next slide, please. Additional information about the criteria of the program. Again, there are no fees required. Applicants must first file the application and then file a petition to the director that includes the assigned serial number. And the application must be for COVID-19 medical-related goods or services subject to FDA approval. And again, we have detailed information on our website concerning this criteria. Next slide, please. Now, how to request participation. So once you've filed the application, you must file a petition to the director using the TEAS system, or Trademark Electronic Application System. And the petition, must provide a statement of facts supported by an affidavit or declaration setting forth the applicant's COVID-19 medical-related goods or services, and an explanation of why the goods or services are of a type that qualifies for prioritized examination. And again, you can see on the screen a sample of this petition to the director. It has a fillable form, and you have an option to upload a file from here. Next slide, please. Now, the USPTO does monitor the workload and resources needed to administer this program. Feedback from you, the public, and the effectiveness of the program is also monitored. If you have any questions, you can submit them or any comments regarding this program to tmpolicy@uspto.gov, or any questions about how to access TEAS. You can also reach out to tas@uspto.gov, and also to reach the Trademark Assistance Center, you can either call 1-800-786-9199 or email the Trademark Assistance Center at uspto.gov. And also, please include this information in the chat. Thank you. And if you have any questions as I'm going along through this presentation, please feel free to put the questions in the chat and we'll address them. Thank you. Next slide. Thank you. So our deferred fee provisional pilot program. Next slide, please. So again, for COVID-19 related provisional patent applications, the USPTO will permit applicants to defer payment of the provisional filing fee until the filing of a non-provisional if the applicant agrees to publication of the provisional on the office's searchable collaboration database. Now, the goal is to provide a cost-effective means for you, the inventor, to disclose ideas quickly to facilitate collaborations, partnerships, and joint ventures. Next slide, please. Again, through our website, we have a dedicated page for these resources. And again, we will cover the criteria of the pilot program, how to request participation, any announcements, and questions and answers under innovation incentives. Next slide, please. For the criteria, certification that the product or process is related to COVID-19 and subject to FDA approval, and this goes for all of the programs related to this COVID-19 pilot program. Agree to public disclosure of technical subject matter via the office's searchable collaboration database. And also, applicants should file the pilot program form PTO SB 452 using the USPTO's Patent Electronic Filing System, EFS Web. Next slide, please. Again, how to request participation. Fill out the pilot program form as mentioned in the previous slide. Also, save the form and upload it via Patent Center with the provisional application, including all required parts as featured in the form that you see here in front of you. Now, when uploading your form, select document description, COVID-19 collab database request for provisional app found under pilot programs category. And on the Patent Center, attach document screen to ensure processing. Next slide, please. Now, for the deferred fee provisional pilot program, the web page contains additional information. Here you see a snapshot of the questions and answers, such as when is the pilot effective and how long will the pilot last, and may I file a request in a previously filed provisional application, and we've answered those questions there. We also have a link to the Federal Register notice, as well as the USPTO's announcements regarding the pilot program. Next slide, please. Again, the USPTO monitors the workload and resources needed to administer the program and feedback from the public and effectiveness of the program. If you have any questions regarding these programs, specifically for COVID-19, you can submit them to COVID-19 provisional application at uspto.gov. And also, any requests for assistance with electronic filing should be directed to the Patent Electronic Business Center at ebc@uspto.gov. Next slide, please. Stakeholder support. And here we are. Next slide, please. We also have remote interviews and hearings. So for interviews, oral hearings, and in-person meetings, they've all been conducted remotely by video or telephone since March 13th of 2020. For interviews, applicants should contact the patent examiner or managing attorney directly. For a patent trial and appeal board or PTAB, oral hearings and practitioners should contact ptabhearings@uspto.gov. PTAB has also given a board-side chat webinar discussing everything practitioners need to know about appearing before the PTAB. Please remember to check out our USPTO channel on YouTube. Now, for Trademark Trial and Appeal Board or the TTAB, oral hearings practitioners should contact ttabhearings@uspto.gov. Next slide, please. In general, additional remote hearings for the PTAB, they address the logistics for virtual proceedings and public remote viewing, and that's, again, we mentioned that board-side chat webinar, and there's a link to it here. If you can put that link in the chat, that would be great. Also, we have oral hearings for appeals by telephone, and AIA trials are by video or telephone. Now, parties will receive a hearing order with relevant instructions, such as for appeals, there's a few days before the oral hearing date, and also for AIA trials, there's approximately a 3-week wait time before oral hearing dates are granted. You can email questions or special requests to ptabhearings@uspto.gov. And you can also request public access to hearings at least 3 business days prior to the oral hearing date. Next slide, please. Now, for international unity, a joint statement from the USPTO and the European Patent Office, or EPO, about standing united in supporting the public during this crucial time was published on April 30th, 2020. We also received or put out a joint statement between the USPTO and the JPR, our Japanese Patent Office, about standing united for the future of innovation, which was published on June 1st of 2020. Next slide, please. Waivers. So the USPTO considers the effects of the COVID-19 outbreak to be an extraordinary situation, of course. And as a result, we've waived the original handwritten signature requirement. And so there's a reference to the CFR here, as you can see, 37 CFR .1.183. Also, for e-signatures, the type name between 2 forward slashes is featured here. We've also allowed the filing of patent applications and correspondence via the Patent Electronic Filing System, EFS Web, or Patent Center. Next slide, please. Some additional waivers. We've also permitted patentees to file initial patent term extension applications that meet certain criteria via EFS Web or Patent Center. We've also extended the time period for petitioning for certain rights of priority or benefit and waived the associated petition fee. Next slide, please. And now we're at the end of our presentation, and we have some additional upcoming trainings and events. And here we have the Do You Know at USPTO series. And for this series, which will occur on March 17th, our March edition, will feature a focus on trademarks and sports. And also we have an additional series called the Wine and IP series. And for Women's History Month, we will focus on women innovators in the wine industry. And that will be on March 24th. So if you are interested in any of these additional training programs, please go to our website at uspto.gov/events and also through Eventbrite. I want to thank you for your time today and attention. And please, if you have any additional questions, please feel free to reach out to me or our regional office, the Eastern Regional Office at Eastern Regional Outreach Office at uspto.gov. And again, thank you for your time.